The Fourth Letter. Guildsburg, March 17, 1961.
Dear Ellie, I got your letter and photo. You are right. I like Will. He is the same height as me, handsome, slim. He is 14 or 15 years old. When I meet him, he looks at me shyly, not taking his eyes off me. I think I would like to play with him a little. That time I joked with him, even flirted a little, and then, having run away to my room, I did it for a long time. That he me. You understand. Dear Ellie, I admire the photo you sent. You have become even more beautiful. And Dick looks like such a strong guy. But, I guess, taking a picture naked is risky. Suddenly someone will see your photo. Although, I will tell you honestly, having such a photo is still interesting. In general, you are happy. At any moment you can see your Dick both dressed and undressed. You can admire him whenever you want. And for now I can only dream. Will Nick not think of sending me a photo of himself? Ellie, I beg you, persuade him to take a picture naked. Let him send it to me. I wonder what his is. Maybe more than Dick's? You know, Ellie, sometimes I feel sick when I imagine this huge thing. And yet I really want it. Well, I will continue my story. So, when Kate began to kiss me on the bed, I felt her fingers. Oh! I can't hold back any longer, I moaned. Katie began gently and carefully, gradually accelerating the movement of her thin fingers. I thought I was going crazy. My whole body was shaking feverishly. I wanted more and more, and Katie's hands responded to my body movements, did their thing. Ecstasy was approaching. Suddenly it was all over. Kate removed her hands and lay down next to me on the bed. My body, not obeying my mind, continued to writhe in agony of dissatisfaction. I want more, I moaned. I was ready to cry out of rage. Grabbing the pillow, I clung to it with my teeth. Oh, Ellie, what torment it was. And then I heard Kate's laughter. Grabbing the pillow, I threw it at her. Throwing her legs up, she laughed even louder. Well done, darling, she exclaimed. Lie down with me, she asked and stretched out her arms to me. My anger passed in an instant. A woman was awakening in me, which I myself had not yet known in myself. A beautiful, mysterious, and lustful woman. I read somewhere that lust is nothing more than a kind of feeling of motherhood, of procreation, of the desire to give one's body in the name of the birth of a new person. One ancient philosopher claimed that true passion usually appears in women after childbirth, that a girl who has not experienced the pains of motherhood is not yet fully ripe for true love. It turns out that unawakened forces are dormant in me. Everything fabulous is ahead of me. And I thanked Kate for her courage, because only she helped me understand myself completely. Are you still mad? Kate asked, a little embarrassed. On the contrary. On the contrary? Kate did not understand. Okay, long explanation. I just felt really good. I'm sorry, I didn't know that you would have such a passion. You have a wild temper, and when you get to know men, they'll just go crazy. Men really like temperamental women. Kate hugged me again, sprawled out on the couch. Nauseously, I stretched and laid my whole body on her. Kate spread her legs apart, and I was between them. Kate wrapped her arms around me, crossing her legs behind my back, and pressed me to her so that I almost suffocated. Kate's face turned red, a painful moan escaped her half-open lips, and she, resting her feet on the sofa, arched her whole body towards me. She repeated this movement more and more often, until I realized that I myself, quite involuntarily, began to repeat her movements with my ass up and down, up and down. We rubbed against each other, and everything in me seemed to be on fire. Up, down, up, down. I was waiting for something unusual, and here it was. A little more. But no, Kate didn't give me pleasure again. She suddenly went weak and rolled over on her side with me. What are you doing? I shouted, I can't hold back anymore. Kate quickly covered my mouth with her hand and whispered, Hush, you fool. Now, if you want it. Now I'll do you a favor. Get up, my little one, get up. She helped me up and placed me across the couch. I was lying on my back, my legs dangling, resting on the floor. Kate stood in front of me, leaned over and said quietly, Let me go. Kate leaned over me and rested her hands on the sofa. slowly moving her body from side to side. It was somehow strange, but very pleasant, and again I felt a sweet burning sensation in the lower abdomen that aroused itching. I was exhausted. Well, I blurted out demandingly and impatiently, and now I had already wrapped my arms around Kate and pressed her tightly to my body. Our lips met again, but not for long. Ellie pulled away from me a little, put one leg between my thighs, put the other on the couch, and wrapped one of my legs and pressed it against my chest. For a while we froze, not moving, and only felt each other's strong trembling. I was out of breath from excitement. Kate made a few movements that made me start to lose consciousness. Another painful second or two. Kate, changing her position and squatting down by the sofa, pressed a kiss to mine. I began to shake like in a fever, and Kate did not take her fiery lips off and, "Oh, what is this? Is it really a tongue?" And then I screamed with pleasure. Grabbing my hips with my hands, I pulled them to my stomach, trying to protrude as much as possible towards her. Some incomprehensible force was throwing my buttocks up and down, from side to side. I felt Kate's nervous fingers. She moaned softly. It was torture with pleasure. I don't know how I didn't faint. I didn't feel myself anymore. I began to have spasms, indescribably sweet convulsions, and I seemed to be beginning to be satisfied. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. In horror I bit my lips until they bled, and Kate, jumping to her feet and staggering like a drunk, asked in a hoarse voice, "Who's there? Are you screaming like that, miss? What happened to you? I was passing by and heard your scream." We sighed, hearing the maid's voice. "Is that you, Lena?" Kate asked calmly. "It's me, miss. Can I help you with something?" "Thank you, Lena." I just knocked over a glass of hot tea on my leg, and it hurt a lot. But now it's okay. I put some ointment on it and bandaged it. "Good night." "Good night, miss." And we heard Lena's heels clicking. I was so scared, Kate whispered. My stomach even hurt. "What are you doing?" Kate asked, drying herself with a towel. "I'm all wet down there," I said. "Are you done?" She asked quietly. "I don't know. I can't understand anything." And I was so scared. "Oh, it's already 2 o'clock. Let's go to bed quickly. Just dry off first." Kate handed me a towel, and I slowly wiped my stomach, thighs between my legs. Hugging, we fell asleep right away. I woke up from my own scream. Opening my eyes, I looked around in surprise. Where was I? Suddenly everything came to mind. I missed class again. I thought, why didn't Kate wake me up? Turning on my side, I saw a note. "My dear Rose, don't worry about anything. Rest as much as you want. I'll come after class. Breakfast in the kitchen, cocoa in a thermos." Well done, Kate. I thought. She took care of everything. The room was hot and smelled of strong perfumes. I wanted to get some fresh air in the garden, but I was afraid to leave the room without Katie. I got up and started taking a shower. The drowsiness disappeared and I felt very well. When I, putting my leg aside, let the warm stream of water flow down my stomach, it felt so nice and tickling that I squealed, laughed with pleasure, and got scared, covered my mouth with the palm of my hand. Suddenly someone would hear. So, having washed, I wrapped myself in Katie's dressing gown and tidied up the room. Now it would be good to talk to someone, laugh, joke with someone. But with whom? I wanted to read. I remembered that book. I found it in the closet, took it out of there, and was already heading for the sofa when something fell from the shelf. It was a box with a beautiful label. When I opened it, I didn't even realize what was inside. Pulling out the incomprehensible object, I almost screamed with delight. Do you know what it was? A stick. An artificial mail stick. And how beautiful. Oh, Ellie. I took it in my hands and began to twist it, examine it, even sniff it. It was very long, 20 centimeters, and very soft, somehow silky, pleasant to the touch. So nice that I wanted to pet him. My lips curled in a slight irony. This is a miracle. But how to use it? What is it capable of? A rubber stick, nothing more. Interesting. I went to the mirror and put it in the place where men should have it. Looking in the mirror, I immediately laughed. I looked so ridiculous. Honestly, I admire a woman, her beauty from God, her grace, her flexibility, her upward orientation. Do you remember? You and I read a little book by some Italian about the ancient state of the Amazons. They were capable of everything: to govern the state, to preserve the hearth, to have a strong will towards the male sex. We even thought then about the absurdity of human history, which replaced matriarchy with patriarchy. If beautiful Amazons were still in charge of everything, maybe our world would be different, and there would be no wars, strife, blood. In short, I loved and love women. I quickly covered my chest with my hand and immediately became like a hang boy. But it was already something beautiful, even attractive. Attach wings to his back, and a little Cupid would flare up to the sky, who seeks only one thing: love, love, and love. Yes, by the way, a little digress. You know that I am a smart girl and can literally develop my thoughts on the fly. So, looking at this ingenious thing, I was once again convinced of the injustice of people. It is good when a woman has a family, a husband, a bed with him. And if not, what then? Where can she go, lonely with her passion? You understand that there is nothing wrong with this. Just as sports equipment is increasingly being introduced into everyday life these days, dumbbells, kettlebells, elastic bands, home bicycles, devices for imitating rowing. A woman is also allowed to use a whole set of artificial organs to get the necessary excitement. Dear Ellie, after reading the manual, I really wanted to try this thing in action. It was wonderful. Oh, how good it was. I felt again that my body was as if a stream of fire had passed through it, and it seemed to me that between my legs I became wet. But no, it didn't seem so. It was really so. I really had an orgasm. And then my feelings seemed to have crossed a threshold. I wanted a real man. My body demanded not artificial, but real love. My body wanted closeness with a living being, full of blood, heat, pulsation, breathing, and real tenderness. To be caressed by male hands, and for them to be demanding, greedy, shameless. The kind of hands a strong male man can have. I imagine Nick, then Will, then. I'm ashamed to admit it, both of them together, on me, next to me, under me. Naked, with a mad sparkle in their eyes, ready to demand more from me. I could almost see the whole process in half-forgetfulness. I could already smell their sweat, touch every cell of their bodies, their intermittent breathing, their hot whispers. It suddenly seemed to me that it wasn't even them, but some beautiful man I had dreamed of in my girlish dreams, the embodiment of everything truly masculine, truly domineering. I submitted to him, and he completely possessed me. To my last breath, to my last fade. I don't know what else I felt, but at the most burning moment I suddenly plunged into semi-oblivion. My hand quickly, sharply, almost with a convulsive tremor reached for the lower abdomen and went straight there. It was an unbearable, magical pleasure. And then a pleasant fatigue, exhaustion spread throughout my body. I felt light and calm. After resting, I got up, washed and lay down on the couch. Dear Ellie, I have already written, in detail, a whole notebook, and you must be tired of reading. But you yourself asked me to write in detail. Understand, because this is the first time I have plunged into this fascinating sea of these pleasures. I already feel like a completely mature, healthy girl, and you understand, my body wants what it is ripe for. You yourself have told me about the same desires more than once. Remember? So I didn't even hear the key click in the lock, and I came to my senses only when I heard Kate's angry voice. What are you doing? I rushed to Kate and hung on her neck. Kate, don't you dare be angry. Where did you get this? There, I pointed to the shelf. You're crazy, she said, but immediately burst out laughing and started kissing me. Then, falling onto the sofa, she unbuttoned her blouse, smiled, and for a moment looked motionlessly straight ahead. Then she turned her head to me and asked, "Do you know who gave me this?" The most beautiful woman in Italy. Yes, don't be surprised. The most beautiful one. You ask, but why did she need all this? Couldn't she find herself an equally beautiful man? The thing is that with her external data, with the development of her feelings, it was very difficult for her to find a suitable partner, almost impossible. One day she seemed to meet the desired friend. They began a passionate affair. He was an officer of the Italian army, a strong man with a clearly expressed masculine strength. On the very first night, they became close. Their love lasted a long time, an hour, another, a third. It seemed that all their strength was at the limit, their souls merged in a single impulse. But here's what was strange. The stronger the wave of desire rose in my acquaintance, the more noticeably her friend weakened. He responded to her stormy calls with languid caresses. To her passionate moans, he only moaned softly in response. And, in the end, when a wave of furious passion swept over her, he asked her to calm down. At least for half an hour, for a few minutes. And then the most incredible thing happened. The unsatisfied passion in my friend's soul abruptly turned into burning hatred. She grabbed the knife lying on the bedside table and swung at her lover. Another moment, and the blade would have stuck in his chest. He realized that this time he would lose his life. Grabbing the clothes scattered on the floor, this officer rushed to escape. Since then, my friend believes that only an artificial stick can bring her the highest pleasure. You know, Ellie, I have been writing you this message for 2 whole days, and I can't finish it all. But, time, no more. The rest in the next letter. We're going on vacation soon, and Katie's inviting me to her friend's ranch not far from here. I'll try to persuade her to invite you and Dick and Nick too. Well, bye. Stay tuned. I feel that you care, yes? Your Rose.